I had a dream that one day this whole world would rise up, buy cryptocurrencies, and fight against the central bankers. Could you imagine a world without the Federal Reserve? A world where there's no inflation, where we control our money? Wow, it's truly a dream. But then I woke up and I realized that unfortunately, during my lifetime here, it's very unlikely that will happen. And the main reason is that many Western governments will most likely destroy many cryptocurrencies. And in this video, I'm gonna explain to you how that could actually happen. Although I love these technologies, although I truly believe in the potential they bring, unfortunately, these politicians, these bureaucrats, they're not stupid, and that's what we must analyze. Many people that are smart and young, a lot of programmers and investors, they assume that central bankers, politicians, regulators are just a bunch of, old boomers that don't really understand the technology. They don't know what we're doing. It's okay. And you know what? To a certain extent, that's a little bit true. The problem is they have money, they have power to, hire a young autist like yourself, like myself, to actually tell them what's happening and what to do. Not just one, but a dozen of them. So these people, they may not be very bright, but they have a lot of young people working for them every single day, telling them of what's happening. So let's talk about Bitcoin, for example. Bitcoin, if you take it seriously, come on, man. It could actually bring a lot of damage, a lot of harm to central banks. And God, that would be so beautiful, man. I mean, it's one of those utopias that I truly would do anything to live. But you know what? Come on. It's been almost, a decade that Bitcoin exists? All this hype, all this, popularization that happened. Do you really think that throughout all of these years, these central bankers, these bankers themselves, even in the private sector, do you really think they saw all of this and just ignored? Oh, they didn't understand that it was a threat, an existential threat to them? Yeah. It's not a problem here. Oh yeah, Bitcoin can't do anything with us. Of course not. They knew that these cryptocurrencies could eventually destroy them, destroy their power, destroy their economic order, and so on and so forth. So you can't underestimate your enemy. And that, unfortunately, is what a lot of people that are crypto investors, developers, unfortunately will do. So not only these people actually understand the threat here, but they actually, are trying to solve the problem. And when I mentioned that they're going to try to destroy these cryptocurrencies, I'm not talking about banning, okay? I mean, what country really did that? China? Yeah, China did that, but why did they do that? It was not because, they're concerned about the central bank. No, because it doesn't really work, right? You can still kind of do some transactions with Bitcoin. China really did that because, as I reported in this channel, they were going through a terrible energy crisis. It was something brutal. So, they had to put a stop to it. Banning cryptocurrencies, we all know, doesn't really work. And many governments in the West, they know that. Okay, they know. Powell, Biden, many of these bureaucrats, they know that if they ban Monero, what is that going to do? Maybe it raises the prices. I don't know. Banning doesn't really work. what works? Well, you take away the value out of the technology itself. Not really the value that's in there, but the perceived value, the perceived essence of these cryptocurrencies. In the beginning, they tried that with criminals. Do you remember that? Right now, they don't talk about it anymore. But, what if, and this is just a speculation that probably will end up happening, what if we have a terrible financial crisis, and at least in theory, or at least that's the narrative that the media pushes, it all started in the crypto markets. I mean, let's be honest. The volatility in many of these cryptocurrencies, it's outrageous. It's just insane. The pumps and dumps, the meme coins, the feces coins, all of that stuff. Man, come on. I love the real technologies that are being built. I do. But come on. Some of these stuff is crazy. Do you really think, again, that they are not aware of all these scams, all these terrible things that people are doing? Come on, are you kidding me? Especially in the United States. I mean, the FCC, these people, they are absolutely, hysterical about this. You do one thing wrong and your life is done. They're just ignoring it. I mean, do you know anyone that got arrested for dumping up the markets? It's not widely, reported in any newspapers. But things could change. Things could change very rapidly if we go through a recession, a terrible financial crisis. If crypto works as a scapegoat, right? Everyone blames cryptocurrencies for what may happen, Oh my God, the economy is falling apart. It's not because the Fed has done what the Fed has done, right? All this stimulus package, all that crazy stuff. No. The reason is cryptocurrencies. You see, it's perfect. It's the perfect scapegoat. And that always happens. You see, back in 2008, what did they do? First of all, many institutions really enjoyed a good time while it lasted. It wasn't just, the real estate market. Many banks made a lot of money. The executives of these banks were really enjoying the ride. The CEOs, all the bonuses, all that good stuff. Just like right now, a lot of tech company CEOs, they're really enjoying themselves, for the past couple of years, actually. And ironically, in the last month, many of these CEOs, they're just selling their stocks. Wow, why is that, right? Could it be because, some of these companies may be just a little bit overvalued? Let's be frank here. The Silicon Valley, seriously, they're the ones that are pushing the buttons in Washington, D.C. right now. If once Wall Street was the largest lobbying group in Washington, right now it's the Silicon Valley. These big tech companies, man, they are in Washington, D.C. with many lobbyists. They're really controlling what's happening and indirectly the monetary policy. So do you really think if a financial crisis comes, the media, normal people would point a finger to the Fed, to the lobbying of the Silicon Valley? Of course not. They're going to have a scapegoat. Oh, those nerds trading cryptocurrencies, they're the ones to blame. Yes, let's go after the cryptocurrencies. That's a terrible thing, let's go after them. You see, why banning, which doesn't really work, why destroying cryptocurrencies before you can actually make use of them in such a scenario? You see, and you may think, well, that's speculative. Yes, it's speculative, but please show me where I'm wrong here. Because it's perfect. If the government doesn't do anything against Bitcoin, for example, Monero, what do you think is going to happen? It's an actual existential threat to them, to their lifestyle, to their power, to their influence. They're not going to just be standing there. Oh, yeah, yeah, sure. So, am I missing something here? I truly hope so. And if you do think that I'm missing something, please comment down below and let me know. I'm looking for some light in this apparent darkness. And you may think, well, but still, the technology itself will be there. You can still use Bitcoin if any country bans it. And it's true. But again, as you may already know at this point, these cryptocurrencies, they're not just the technology itself. The perceived value, the so-called hype, the so-called, what people see the value in there at that moment, that really is important. And when we're talking about currencies, that's extra important because the value of a currency as a whole depends on the acceptance, on the usage by normal people. And if the Fed, the media, and tech CEOs are able to come up with a campaign to demonize the usage of cryptocurrencies, many average people would absolutely be scared of using them again. So when we think about it, it's actually a quite smart move. Not only they would get rid of this crypto problem that could actually bring many headaches for central bankers and politicians as a whole, but they would also not be blamed by most people for the bubble they actually created or at least enjoyed, as it was in the case of many tech CEOs. They will be able to say the following: well, the ones that are responsible for all this mess are these crypto investors and developers. We in the Federal Reserve, as well as the CEOs of these companies, we're not responsible for this. We're actually victims. I know some of you may not be convinced, but now we get to the really strange part, which is the following. Have you noticed that my haircut is different? My beard has grown. I'm in a different place. That's because it's been a month since I recorded everything you've watched so far. And now, while I'm editing this video, I got the following news. Paul Krugman said crypto has disturbing parallels with subprime mortgage meltdown. And of course, you may just ignore what he said, but regardless, he is someone that's taken very seriously by policymakers. He is the voice of mainstream economics, of central bankers. So my thesis has already an example of that. Maybe in the coming weeks, we'll continue to see this kind of thing. And then when a recession comes, if at least a really sour correction comes, then they may find the perfect scapegoat. Because in the end of the day, well, it's true that the price of many cryptocurrencies exploded after the Fed started printing an insane amount of money. But it's not just the only example. The ones that really benefited with that were the tech CEOs, were the central banks themselves. So, maybe that's what's going to happen. But again, everyone, I don't have all the answers. I would actually love to see different perspectives. I'm not arrogant. I really don't pretend to have everything in my hands. So again, if you know something else that I'm not seeing, please let me know and feel free to subscribe to this channel.